V'hine kedei le'order le'bechinas hatainug hapashat sheba'atzmos. Now, in order to awaken the simple pleasure that's in atzmos, ein dai le'order b'dibur. It's not enough to awaken it with speech. Elarak bebechinas kol pashut davka. But you have to have this simple cry of the shofar. And the reason is that speech is a concept of spreading out to someone else. And it's explained above that Malchus does not have this concept of pleasure on its own. And you need to draw down into it pleasure. And since the whole concept is that you should have pleasure in the speech, which is malchus, like it says, the word of the king. How do we awaken? Do we awaken in speech? Since it itself needs to draw down the pleasure. And we can explain this we can understand this with further explanation. And also why specifically with a simple cry and not words. Now we can preface one allegory. Now when a person is doing work, that he has some kind of pleasure in this work. When a person is doing it, they also have to think to themselves why they're doing it, and they have a reasoning behind it. And certainly they have some intention, inner intention of why they're doing it. And after he understood and intended in it, so this idea and intention goes to the emotions in the heart, that his heart should be aroused to do, and the emotions are enclosed in the actual physical act. So it's found then that the strength of pleasure, it gives flow to this into this act of work. To the strength of intellect, and then the intellect gives flow and an inner intent to the emotions. And the emotions, they're the ones who give over to the act, the effect the act through the emotions. And these concepts are enclosed one in the other. The pleasure in intellect, and the intellect in emotions, and the emotions in the act. But if a person is tired and weak of hands in their work, you have to awaken all the way. You have to awaken back that pleasure to renew the whole thing, that the pleasure should once again go to the first understanding of why, and the inner intent of it, that the person has in that work, and this understanding is then drawn into the emotions, and from the emotions to act, to act and do the work. And if he didn't renew it like this, he would stop working, because of the weakness of the hands and so forth, Tekiyotzi and the like, V'hini vadai, or and laziness and so forth. V'hini vadai, Efshar lo mashach chitzonius dasios hamalacha, o chitzonius hamidos. And you cannot say that the external concept of the action, or the external concept of the emotions that are in the action should be ma'asim hamalacha of this work. They themselves cannot be the cause of awakening this pleasure again mechadash. And even the internal intent of and understanding of why you're doing this work, it's impossible that it itself should be the one that awakens the pleasure, to have the flow of pleasure, since the intellect and the intent themselves, they need this flow of pleasure in order for them to do anything. So they themselves cannot then go and wake up the pleasure to flow into themselves. And that if you didn't have this pleasure, you wouldn't have at all this inner intent and understanding, because it's this flow of pleasure that draws out this intent and so forth. And how much more so that this applies to the emotions and the act as well, that they themselves without the pleasure cannot awaken the pleasure. But you have to awaken the pleasure from the essence of the soul itself, that the strength of pleasure is drawn from there, since that is the source of the strength of pleasure. Therefore, from there specifically, you can awaken the strength of pleasure, to give flow of pleasure into intellect, and from the intellect to the emotions. Like the flow of pleasure to draw out the drop, the intellect, or the drop from the strength of intellect within the soul, the strength to bring out intellect. That you have to awaken the essential strength of pleasure for this, that the pleasure should bring out the intellect. And not only from the revealed state alone, because the revealed state of pleasure itself needs its source to come out. So even the concept of pleasure, you have to draw it from the strength of pleasure, and not from the revealed state, but from the hidden state. So in order to awaken the reins of the Father, that it should come to the emotions, that Chachma should go to the Midos, you have to awaken the essential level of the light of the Father, of Chachma, and not only from the revealed state alone, for that same reason. But just like with pleasure, that you cannot draw out from the revealed state, but rather you need to reawaken from the hidden inner state of that level. So too with bringing out wisdom to go to the emotions, you need to draw out from the inner level to get the flow downwards. And according to this allegory, you can understand above, betam Tekias Shofar, becalled pashur, velo bedibur, for the reason that we blow the shofar with a simple cry and not with speech, because because this flow to create the worlds, ma'ayin liyesh, from nothing to something, nikra b'shem malacha, it's called an act, like it says that he rested from all his act, it's called a work, that it's like a physical act, like it says that in 6 days he acted, he made, with the word that means asiyah, and in acts of Maisa is enclosed the emotions of the world of Atzilus, they're called the 6 days of acts. And in these emotions of Atzilus are enclosed wisdom and understanding, just like the concept of the intellect, the idea, and the inner intent of why the act is done. That's drawn into the emotions, like we said b'mashal and in the allegory. And in the level of wisdom that's enclosed in all of this is enclosed in the chachma, the light and the flow of the simple pleasure, that's in the essence of maitzil, in the essence of the emanator, when it came up into his simple will to emanate and to create. And at all times the hands would be, so to speak, weakened, inert, from creating the worlds. If we would awaken anew to this simple strength of pleasure, that's in the essence, that it should draw out a particular pleasure into wisdom, and from wisdom into the emotions and into the act, and so forth. B'mashal, like we said in the allegory, now you can't awaken the essential strength of pleasure through elevating the wisdom back into it. And how much more so that the midos and the speech and the act cannot awaken it, because they themselves need the pleasure in order for them to do it. They don't have it yet, so they cannot awaken something that they don't have. It has to be awakened from the top, from the essence of the emanator, that from him it comes this essential, simple strength of pleasure, that it should come out and give a particular pleasure to the strength of intellect and wisdom, that's called the inner concept of Abba. And from the inner concept of Abba comes out it's drawn out to the emotions and to the midos and speech and action, like we brought. Therefore you cannot awaken it with speech and not with intellect or emotions, only with a simple cry that comes from the breath of the heart. That this simple cry comes from the essential, that comes from the essence of the one who's giving, of the giver. And it also has the source of the one who's receiving. It's this memutza, like we said, and this is the letter that you express as Aleph, which is the first of the 22 letters, of thought and speech, like we said, in the first preface Al-Kain, al-Yiditkiya, B'kol Pashut Zeh, therefore, by crying out with this simple voice, you can draw out and awaken from the essence of the one who gives flow to the receiver. Davka specifically, that is from the essential strength of pleasure to give flow into from the pleasure into the intellect. So too, from the essential strength of intellect, which is called the drop of the Father, into the emotions. So both seichel and the tipa, so too you can awaken from essence to the essence, that is from the essence of the emanator, to awaken the essential pleasure. And the essential pleasure awakens the essential strength of intellect, to give flow, that the intellect should go into the emotions and downward. And it's all because this simple cry awakens the essence, and it's this go-between state between the essence and the giver and the receiver. Now we need to understand another concept, and that is that Rosh Hashanah is the beginning of the creation of the source of the intellect to the feminine aspect, called Hisavus Olamos, that the feminine aspect is the source for the creation of all the worlds. From nothing to something, as is known that it comes from Malchus. If so, it would be necessary. It's necessary that all the life force of all the worlds should go back to their very first source. According to that allegory, that when a person rests and stops doing, you need to awaken it from the beginning. So the resting would be that all the life of the worlds would chas v'shalom stop or rest or go back up in, but it goes back up into its source. But the concept is the kolam shachos hanasim al yidei shofar, that all of the divine flow that's caused through the shofar, gam b'shvil hashpala olamos, for the flow of the worlds, harehu rak bebechinas pnimius hatzilus, it's only coming from the inner concept of the emanation, laham shich mochin chadashim lezun, to draw new intellect into Za'an Nukva. So that's an inner concept. But in the external concept of Za'an Nukva, Shemihem Mekablim Kola Olamos, from which the all the worlds get are receiving from, Ein Bezeh Shinoi Klal, there's no change at all in the flow. The world doesn't go out of existence during this time. It's only, this change is only in the inner lights and in intellect, intellectual concepts that go into Za'an Nukva. That it's through drawing out this new mind, it shines, and with the in an inner state, and the light shines in an inner state more. And if not, they would only shine in a very hidden way, but through revealing the mochin you draw out into a more of this intellect into more of a revealed state. You can understand this allegorically through the concept of sleeping. That the intellect goes upwards. And is only left over from the intellect is this residue, and it's in a very hidden state. And so to the intellect and that we said before it goes up and would be in a hidden state. And then when a person's sleeping, the main intellect is not in an inner state, but it encompasses him. Because a person can answer the one who asks them similar to the intellect that would be in the mind. So it's there, but it's not internal, but it's makif to him. It encompasses the person. And the life force is within the person in a complete state still to feel any pain. But nonetheless, the life force in the heart, it's only a small amount of life force, with the beating of the heart, and the beating in the pulse on the arm. So it's only an external, and the backside, the back of this life force, that's in the heart, and what's internal is only a residue of the mind and intellect in a very hidden state. But nonetheless, the external life force of the limbs, they have no change. Only the inner life force of the intellect and life in the heart. So this glimmer is only in a very hidden state when the person is sleeping. So too you can understand above, in the flow of the world, that it's in a state of only the external flow of the emotional attributes and the intellect, the atzilus of the world of atzilus kidua, as is known, that there's no change in that even when a person's sleeping, they still have the rudimentary expression of these things. Even if he's in a state of sleep, which is a concept of the sleeping, the intellect as it goes upwards, like Adam Rishon who slept. So you can still have the flow to the worlds from the external and the back. That stays in a hidden state internally. The change is only in the inner concept of the intellect and the emotions. That in an awake state they shine in a more internal way. Nonetheless, this inner life shines to the external. That through the inner light it shines an extra strength and ability to the external level. And if not, the external ability would be weakened. And that is this allegory like that we brought, that if you do not have the flow from the pleasure to the intellect, and from the intellect to the emotions, and action. You could have an actual stopping and weakening of the physical act. Without it could eventually stop completely. Chas v'shalom. And now you can answer the question we asked. How is it that the life force of the world doesn't just go back to its source in Rosh Hashanah? That's because the external still stays there. The flow that we're talking about to Zan Nukva is this internal flow of the intellect to Zan Nukva. And it still can remain the flow of the worlds from their external concept alone. Only that the drawing out of the intellect in an inner way helps in renewal of the ability of drawing and strength of drawing out into the external as is understood according to this allegory, and that's enough to understand.